Hi guys, my name is Renato Filizola, and in this video I'm going to show you how to add a domain controller to an existing domain. So here I have my actually created domain, which is dc1 server, and the domain is my name.local, which is renatofilizola.local. And the IP address for this server is 192.168.0.220. So I'm going to add another domain to this domain here, renatofilizola.local. So the other computer, the other server will be dc2 server with another IP address, but both will be participating to the same domain. So first of all, I'm going to minimize this, and I need to create the environment. I need to prepare the environment. So I'm going to create another machine, another server, which is going to be my DC2, because now I only have my DC1. So I'm going to hit machine and new. The name will be the same, Windows Server 2019, but this is my DC2. Machine folder, I'll keep the same. Type is Microsoft Windows, and version I will change to other Windows 64-bit. Click on that, and then we go next. For this server, I will select 4 gigabytes or 4096 megabytes. That means 4 gigabytes. So 4 gigabytes for my DC2. Click next. And then we have to create a virtual hard disk now. Click create. And for the hard disk file type, I'll keep the same, VDI, which is the default for the Oracle VirtualBox. So I'm going to hit next. And I'll keep dynamically allocated as the default. Next. Here is the size of my hard disk. I will choose 32 gigabytes for my hard disk. And this is actually the hard disk, the virtual hard disk, which is .vdi, virtual disk image. And then we can click create. There we go. We have our machine almost ready to go. So I'm gonna right click on that and go settings. First, I need to change the network because of my domain controller 1 is attached to my bridge. It's attached to the bridge adapter. So I will select my DC2 the same. So the network is fine now. And now we have to attach the ISO file. So go to storage, click on the DVD, and on the right side click on that DVD and select the ISO image. So this one here, this first one here, it's actually my Windows Server 2019 ISO file that I downloaded from the Microsoft site. I'm gonna click on that and click OK. And now I will start my Windows Server 2019 DC2 machine. So I'm going to start. It's booting from the ISO file. There we go. So here, language to install, I'll keep English. Time and currency format, I'll keep English United States. But keyboard or input method, If your keyboard is the USA model, you can keep USA, but I will change mine to Portuguese ABNT, Brazil ABNT2, and click next and install now. So it's going to start the installation. We just have to wait a little bit. Okay, so now we have to select the operating system. For this Windows Server, I will select the second option, which is the desktop experience. So this is Windows Server 2019 standard evaluation with the architecture 64-bit. So select the second option and go next. And we have to accept the license terms and click next. As we do not have any operating system installed on this hard disk, we're not going to upgrade, so we have to select custom, install Windows only. Click on that, and this is my 32 gigabytes hard disk. I will create a new partition with 2 gigabytes or 2048 megabytes. Click apply, and then it just created a new partition, but the operating system will be installed on my 30 gigabytes partition. So select that one and click next. It's going to start the installation. It will take some time. I'm going to pause the video until it gets installed. As soon as it's installed, I will be back. Okay, so it's almost ready to go. It just installed, and it will restart automatically. You can also click here to restart now. We're not going to press anything. It's going to boot from the hard disk. And Microsoft Windows Server 2019 is loading up. Okay, it's starting the services, checking the hardware. It's checking actually the operating system itself, getting ready to go. It's gonna boot up one more time, and again we do not have to press any key. Almost there. There we go. Now it's time to select the password for the administrator user. I'm gonna select the password for that, and then you can go finish. There we go. Now we have to unlock, press Ctrl Alt Delete, and I will log in with the password I just set up. It's going to create the profile for the administrator. It's going to set up and personalize some settings for this server. It's still loading up things. Let's just wait a little bit more, but we are almost there. It's gonna pop up the server manager, which is the option we're gonna use. Yes, we can click yes here, and it's gonna pop up the server manager. This Windows here, it says try managing servers with Windows Admin Center and stuff like that. We can click don't show this message again. So I will check this box and I'm gonna close it. And there we go. Our Windows Server 2019 is already installed. So now I'm gonna go to the local server, click on that, and I will change the computer name. So from Windows, I'm gonna go change, and this is my DC2 server. So I have my DC1 server, and this is going to be DC2 server. Click OK. And it says that we must restart our computer to apply these changes. I'm gonna say OK, I'm gonna say close, but I will restart later because I need to set up the IP address for my domain controller 2. So click here on the IPv4 address assigned by the HCP. We're gonna change that, and right click on the interface and go properties. Now double click on Internet Protocol version 4 or TCP IPv4, double click on that, and then select use the following IP address. So I'm gonna set up the IP address 192.168.0.221. This is going to be the IP address for my domain controller 2. So my domain controller 1 is 192.168.0.220. So this DC2, this domain controller 2 is going to be 221. Subnet mask, I'm okay with that. It will autocomplete, and my default gateway is going to be 192.168.0.1, which is the IP address of my router. And this is a very important thing. Preferred DNS server, to add a domain controller to an existing domain, we need to set up the IP address of our first domain controller, which is 220. Okay, so I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna open my DC1. I'm gonna log in here. My password, and there we go. So 192.168.0.220. So we're gonna set up the DNS for the domain controller 2 with my domain controller 1 IP address. So I'm gonna go back to my domain controller 2, and this is the correct IP address. I'm gonna click OK, OK, And now we can restart our server. So I'm gonna boot up again with the new IP address and with the new host name, which is dc2 slash dash server. Okay, let's log in. Gonna enter the password. Okay, I'm going to change the time zone, so it's set up automatically to Pacific time, but I will change to Eastern time, US and Canada. I'm gonna close, and let me check local server again, and there we go. So now, as you can see, we have the new name, the new computer name, DC2 server, and the IP address for this server. So I'm gonna check if my DC2 can ping my DC1. So the IP address of my DC1 is 192.168.0.220, and there we go. It's pinging fine. Okay, we can close this. There's another thing very important to do, which is we're going to disable Internet Protocol version 6 or IPv6. I'm gonna disable this. I'm gonna hit OK. I'm gonna close, and I'm going back to my dashboard, and I will add roles and features. Click on that. This is the very first wizard. We just have to click next. The installation type, it will be role-based or feature-based installations. Click next. And we're gonna install on our DC2 server, which the IP address is 192.168.0.221. Next. Here we have to select Active Directory domain, and then it's gonna add all of those features, which is fine. So we just have to click Add Features, and then we can say Next. Next again, we're not going to add anything from here. Just Next. And it's just explaining what exactly an Active Directory domain services is. So click Next. And this is just a confirmation for the features that is going to be installed. Click Install. It's going to start the installation. It doesn't take too long, so I will wait for that. Yeah, it's going to install remote server administration tools, which they are like role administration tools, ADDS and ADLDS tools, Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell, ADDS tools, which they are Active Directory Administrative Center, and ADDS, Snap-in, and command line tools. So all of those features will be installed on this server, which is our domain controller 2. And there is a message here that you can close this wizard without interrupting running tasks, but actually it's already installed. So it says here, configuration required, installation succeeded on our domain controller 2 server. So click close. And as you can see here on this flag, it shows in yellow exclamation. So click on that. And we have to promote this server to a domain controller. So click on that. Here we are going to add a domain controller to an existing domain. So the first thing we have to do, we have to supply the credentials to perform this operation. So click change, and here it's going to be my user, which is administrator, at and my domain .local, and the password for my administrator user. I'm gonna hit OK. It auto completes with the domain. We can check it here. It's already here. Go OK, and then we can go next. Okay, now we have to create a password for our directory services restore mode, which is our DSRM. I'm gonna create a password for that. And now click next. We're gonna keep those options here, the default, the domain name system, which is DNS, and the global catalog GC. Click next. It says a delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. That's fine. We can close this and we can keep installing. Go next. And it will replicate from our dc1-server.myname.local, which is our domain. So select that and click next. We're gonna keep the default for our the default path for our database, for our log files, sysvol. Everything is going to be the default. Click next. And this is just a review what is going to be installed. And the target server is our DC2 server. Click next. It's gonna check the prerequisites. It says here all prerequisites checks passed successfully. And now we just have to click install to begin the installation. Then let's install it. Almost there. It's setting the computer's DNS computer name to root to the domain, which is Filizola.local, and there we go. It says this server was successfully configured as a domain controller and it's going to restart automatically. We can close it here, we can close it here, and it's going to restart automatically. Again, we're not going to press any key. It's booting up the server, and now it will show that our DC2 is already configured to be a domain controller. It's applying some settings. Let's just wait a little bit. I think this will take some time, so I will pause this video until it gets 100% applied, and I will be back as soon as it's completed. There we go, it's already installed, so I'm gonna press Ctrl Alt Delete, and now as we can see it shows our domain Renato Filizola / and the username. So I'm gonna log in with the administrator password. Okay, we're almost there. It's gonna load and pop up the server manager. There we go. Dashboard. Still loading things as this blue bar is updating. If I try to click local server, and there we go. Okay, everything is loaded up. So now, as you can see, we have our computer name, DC2 server, and it's already in the domain. That's the IP address of this server. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna drag and drop this to this side, the right side. I'm gonna open the DC1. I need to log in here on my DC1. I'm gonna enter the password. Okay, my DC1, and open this. Okay, there we go. So now we have on the left side my Windows Server 2019 domain controller 1, and on the right side my domain controller 2. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the users. I'm gonna open the Active Directory users and computers. Gonna maximize the domain. You can see here that's the domain, my name.local, and then I can click users. So I'm gonna create a user here. I'm gonna right click on users, new, and I'm gonna select users. I'll create Renato and my last name. So the user logo name will be R Filizola. Next, I'll say that the password never expires. Okay, password never expires, and I'm gonna create a password. There we go. I have to confirm the password and go next. It says full name, my full name, the user logon is going to be my username at the domain, and I set up for the password never expires. So finish. Now I can see that my username is already here, and it will synchronize with my domain controller too. So if I go here and if I go users. I'm going to open the Active Directory users and computers. Same thing as this one here. Okay, let me maximize this. There we go. So if I maximize here my domain, and if I go users, we can see that the user Renato Filizola has been updated on my domain controller too. So that means we have our domain controller 1 synchronizing in a real time with my domain controller 2. So if we go here to domain controllers, it shows, okay, so you have the DC1 server, which is a domain controller, and you have the DC2 server, which is the second domain controller. Same thing if I go here, domain controller, so I have my DC1 and my DC2, everything is synchronized and working properly. Okay, so now you guys know how to add a domain controller to an existing domain. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give us a like, give a comment, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much. See you on the next video. Bye.